Hello, everybody. Welcome to PS We Have No Plan. It's Emily calling in from London. Made it back here last night.
Woo! And I'm Peyton calling in from LA. I'm not as fun and interesting. I'm still home, but
Please,
I'm here.
please. LA is always interesting.
You're right. You're right. You know what? Actually, you're kind of right.
There's
We're
never there's never a downbeat in LA.
never, especially in West Hollywood, it's like people are just out and moving and grooving all the
Oh, I
time.
love it. And just that you live in West Hollywood. I mean, that's just as I love it. Everything
I
about
know.
that.
It is. It's super fun. I can't wait for you to visit. You need to
Oh, I
come visit
will.
soon. That's what I keep saying.
I know. I
I'm
need
gonna
to.
keep saying for each of us to visit each other until one day it's actually gonna happen.
We will make it happen. We will. We're
Yes.
getting closer. We are getting closer to it. I know it. If and like just like a side note, my brother, his company is 2 years lovesick this year, so I think he might do another party
Oh,
in
good.
July. So if he does, obviously I'll be out there for that. But you have to come.
Oh, amazing. Done. Yeah. Let's plan on that. Colin.
Oh,
Thank you.
now you have to have your party for multiple reasons.
Oh my God.
Please,
Well,
please.
we are so happy everyone's tuning in. Today is going to be a fun episode. We're going to be talking about our concept of a perfect life, why that sort of has caused pressures in our lives, and how we combat that, what we feel about that,
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just routine and how you see how people are like always pushing routine, routine, routine at different times of the day or for things that you want to get done. And it seems like such an aspiration. And I think it works really well for some people, like it does for you. But for me, it's very overwhelming. And it makes
Yeah.
me feel like I'm failing.
You know what? I think it's going to be such a good conversation to hear the different sides because, to your point, like everyone has something different to add, and sometimes it serves people, sometimes it doesn't. And that's the problem with mainstream media is like there's only
Yeah.
usually one thing that people idolize, and you either resonate or you don't. I don't think there's a
Yes.
reason to hate on it, but it's sort of like let's talk about it and let's think, what serves us versus what doesn't.
Absolutely. No, I think it's great. And obviously, like anything, what works for you. And that's what matters. It doesn't matter if it works for somebody else and you have to do it because of that reason. No, if it's not going to work for you, then obviously don't put it out there for yourself. But for me, I know over the last few years, like everybody, my social media is full of, oh my gosh, I'm sure you can watch me try and untangle my necklaces right now and the
I was going to say, I
anxiety.
love those necklaces. Is it multiple or is it one?
Oh no, this is three, and it is
Oh,
Tangle City. Oh my God.
also, your background's so
Woo!
cute. Look at that mirror.
Thank you. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
Courtesy of the hotel life.
Ooh.
And I'll get more into that later. But anyway, sorry. Back on subject.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, we all have like our feeds on social media and what we see,
Mm-hmm.
and it's curated towards that for us, for the algorithm and all of that stuff. And for the longest time, I was always following just different influencers and people that I kind of aspired to be like. And all of them were doing the daily routines of getting up at 6, getting a stretch in, yoga, journal, matcha, exercise, and then starting their day, and all of those things. And give or take, obviously, those are just kind of like a generalization. And I thought to myself, okay, if I can just get myself on something like that, I will be set. Like I'll be set for success. And that'll help me get to where I want to go or figure out who I want to be and what I'm supposed to do in this life. And let me tell you, I could not. I could not. And it was so defeating. It was so defeating. And I had a really hard time with that. I really did because then just like anything, right? Like when you don't feel like you're able to um just master a skill, you're like, okay, well, what's wrong with me? I guess I'm not supposed to do that in my life. And, does that make sense?
I mean, totally, totally makes sense. And it's when we are using social media, we follow certain accounts for inspiration because they're pretty, because they give us goals or whatever else we do. And then it becomes our world versus, oh, this is just one or two people and it works for one or
Mhm.
two people. It's like, oh my God, this is everyone because that's who we follow and that's the information we intake. And I agree. I think like, even though I am someone who falls into routine and really enjoys routine and like structure, at the same time, when I don't want that or I'm not feeling that way, following those types of accounts makes me feel like shit. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? It makes me like
I
question
know.
myself. I feel ugly for the day. I feel like, ugh. It's just, it just happens. Like, it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the person. I'm just like, ew, I hate it. I'm like, I get
No, a
judgy and
hundred.
annoyed.
Oh, all the time. Or like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I like matcha? Why don't, and let me
Yeah.
tell you, I don't like matcha. Like, that's just something, it comes back to, I think, our original idea of the perfect life. What does that mean?
Yes.
And what it means is it's different for everybody, right?
Yes. Yes.
Like it's it's great if something like this helps you to achieve that feeling of living a great life. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. That's why there's so many different ways of living. You can try them all and find what works best for you. And I think we're kind of in the process of that trying them all phase.
No, I completely agree. I think the challenge is also like not putting so much stock in other people's perfect life because I think
Yes.
I'm even following now, like now my new vibe is sort of like real girl aesthetic. Like the I've shown you Matilda Djerf
Yeah.
is like my icon right now. I love her. She's this Copenhagen, like this Danish
Uh,
designer, blew up on TikTok. She's amazing. But now that's my vibe. And I've been following a whole bunch of girlies that do that. And now I'm
uh-huh.
like, I'm not simple and unedited enough. Now I need to be even, it's just like no matter what, you idolize a perfect life, right? A quote unquote perfect life, whatever you're trying to achieve in that moment. And so for me, it's a challenge because it shifts. And then I'll inundate myself with a new version of a perfect life. And then I'll
Yes.
feel like I'm not there yet either. So all that to say, I think it is also important to just notice, like, don't fall victim to kind of I need to achieve something that someone else has,
Right.
you know, whatever you're feeling in the moment, don't, or whatever you're vibing with or like aspiring to be in the moment, don't let that overtake you, you
Yeah,
know?
in the big picture of it all, of like who
Yeah.
you are. And it's great to find inspiration and like chase after a vibe that maybe you see
Yeah.
from somebody over on the left-hand side, but also keep in your mind that that's not you. And you don't have to be that. Like you can take whatever you want from that. And as
Right.
I'm saying this right now, I am telling myself that because
Me
I
too.
can be right. I feel like we can just like we can chameleonize ourselves. Like once if we get into something, we get into it hard and deep and we jump in and we want everything in our about our lives and ourselves and everything to be just like that. And I mean, I I can give so many examples throughout my life and they're all over the place, but like my black hair
Totally.
phase, my like you name it, like you you just jump in and then
Oh
you
yeah.
feel like you have to do everything to a T like this person. But it's I mean, you're just setting yourself up to fail.
For sure. And there's just a limit to it. Like just make sure
Yeah.
you're acknowledging it. Because I remember for me, what happened throughout my life is I would really resonate with characters in TV and movie shows or TV shows and movies. So I would go to the movie theater. I'd watch, I remember vividly my best friend at the time and still is today, Marie. Um, one of my best friends, Marie. Sometimes, quick side note, sometimes I'll say like my best friend, and a friend will text me and be like, I thought I was your best friend. You have so many
Oh,
best friends. I'm like, okay, relax.
yeah.
Um,
Here's another tip. Don't get so caught up in titles.
yeah, it's semantics, people. I love you all. But Marie, who was one of my best friends in high school, we went to go see The Art of Getting By, which is with Emma Roberts. It's this like kind of indie Sundance film, I think, maybe A24. And I remember walking out of the theater and being like, I am this misunderstood teen who just like but
Yes.
you know it's just and everything felt like I was in the movie. I was her. I remember the same thing happened with the last song. I was like, I am Ronnie.
Oh.
I am indie and I fuck the
Dun.
world and piano and like all it's just like that's
Yes.
great. You resonate with these people. You aspire to be these types of people. That's awesome. That's what movies and TV shows do. But at the same time, you're still you,
I
right? So
know,
it's
I
like,
know, I know. It's so hard though, too, right? I think it's so
yeah,
hard for people. I'm sure a lot of people like feel the same way since obviously we do, but it's like
yeah,
it's hard for people that maybe are more artistic or bounce around a lot because you can see bits of all those different people in who you are already.
yes,
And so you're like,
totally.
oh, well, then that must be me. And
Oh,
also, like, I mean,
totally.
I am an ever evolving person. I never really know who I am as of right now. Like, we're still trying to figure that out. Like, I think that's something that we've talked about on our podcast a lot. Like, we don't know who we are yet fully and what we want to be when we grow up. And so when you have that mentality, I think you fall victim a lot to wanting to be molded into like this already perfect character in a movie that set you see exactly who they are from aesthetic to how they talk to their
Yep.
to what they think what they like and it's so nice because that person is who they are and then you don't have to think about it anymore.
Exactly. It's simple, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
them, especially in movies and media, they're the stereotype. They're the extreme version of whatever character, because that's right. That's the point of like a movie is you have to have a character
Yes.
that really embodies one thing. Same with social media. You create a brand around one certain thing. So they're almost the extreme version of that. So then you're like, they must get themselves. They just truly simplify life and they just lean into who they are. And it's like,
Why
well,
can't I
they're
be like that?
right, but they're just a single facet of a person. So all this to say, like, I think idolizing a perfect life is what happens to me. And I'm curious to what happens to you. I think I can get really anxious. I think I can get really heady. I can get kind of in my own mind when I'm in social settings. I'll be more attuned to what everyone else is doing. I'll pick up on other people's energies more than my own. Like I won't know how to show up in a space. Like truly,
Mm-hmm.
all of this happens when I'm in a state of idolizing a perfect life or when I'm trying to achieve this goal of
Yeah.
whatever I'm going after in the moment, right? Like I feel more susceptible to people and it
Oh
brings me
yeah.
down,
Oh, oh, 100%. And I couldn't relate to that anymore. And
right?
yes, yes. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad because one, there's no such thing. Like, there's no such thing as a perfect life, especially in social media. I know this is such an overused thing, but like all of us, we just show the highlights. We don't show the real life on the internet. And I feel like we are trying to show a little bit more of like the ins and outs on our PS We Have No Plan Instagram. And this podcast is about the everyday life.
Right.
It's not all glamorous, but we're trying to show up every day and celebrate all those little moments because that's what life is. It is all of those little normal mundane days. And if you can learn to appreciate that and glamorize that, then I think that is when you can achieve the perfect life.
Yes.
Does
Yes.
that kind of make
Yes.
jive?
I agree with what you're saying completely. That's sort of what we're trying to do is help people recognize the beauty in their own everyday life and not need to go search for something else. I I also said the blog post I just posted today was sort of on the same sentiment where it's like ha- it's very LA of me. I'm like the high vibrational activities that I engage in. But the reason why I shared it is because there's I've noticed that certain activities bring me down and make me feel low energy. And like I said, make me more susceptible to feeling comparative or feeling like I enter
Yeah.
into a space and I care about everyone else and I don't care about myself. And then there are activities that really keep me positive and uplift me. And it's almost like I feel like I'm protecting my energy more when I leave my house or when I go into social situations. I'm more myself. I'm more confident. I'm more all of the good things when I engage in higher vibrational activities. And so it's like very, again,
Yeah.
very LA, very earthy, hippie vibe. But it's interesting. It's interesting. There are things that make me feel really good. Like I listed, like listening to happy music something simple like that can really bring up my mood versus like something low vibrational is like mindlessly scrolling through Instagram. And that can
Yes,
be bring me down. So it's like just taking note. It's not to say you never do these low vibrational things. It's just like take note of what drains you and what brings you up.
exactly. Exactly. Be aware of how you're feeling in different situations that you're putting yourself into. And it's so funny how what you just said is like, I'm doing this to escape. I mean, I feel like what I'm doing right now with my life is almost a
Mm,
path of escape.
hmm.
I left my family, like, and this has definitely been something that's been going around my mind before I left, and now every day since I have been gone. And it's definitely, I think, one of the key lessons that I will take away from this time is, you know, I I've left everything behind that I love, everybody that I love, and I real to search for something that who knows what it is. Like I said the other day, it's a quest for something. I don't know what it is, but you know, I think in my mind, I romanticize England. I romanticize the royals. I mean, so many people do, and just travel and being in different places and different dialects and languages and the same thing. I meant like accents.
I know
And,
what you mean. I
you
know.
know,
Yeah, yes, of course. I mean,
but
everyone does, right? To some extent. I
yes,
think it's beautiful. Yeah.
it's so beautiful. And so to have this opportunity to be able to do this and go out and like see the world and just experience, it has been one eye-opening and wonderful, and I'm so grateful for it. But it has probably the main thing that it has taught me thus far, and I will walk away with learning is that I have a very beautiful life at home, you know? And sometimes because we are just so freaking stubborn and blind, it takes taking yourself out of a situation to recognize what you already have. And
I, yeah.
right? And it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. I mean, when I'm at home, we talk about, oh, one day I hope we can buy a house. It's so expensive in Nashville. We don't love currently where our careers are at. Like, what are our dreams, our goals? We are so behind, like comparing this to that to that. And then now I'm like, I have a wonderful husband who is just everything. I have a perfect little bad boy puppy. My family is healthy. I love my parents, my siblings. I'm so blessed with my families in law, my aunt, uncle, cousins. We have jobs. We have bosses that allow us to do things like what I am doing. I am living a very, very, very blessed, fruitful life. And so now to me, my picture of the perfect life is changing.
Oh, I'm gonna like cry. That's so
Oh, don't
sweet.
cry.
That's so sweet. Well, that's exactly, but it's interesting because that's what I was sort of trying to get at with all of these, various activities that you can engage in. But what you're
Yeah.
explaining, which is remove yourself from the bullshit of it all, which you did, and you came and you spent time alone and you're spending time alone and you're taking stock of your life. And I do think, yes, you're right. It's a form of escape, maybe, but maybe it's also a form of like self care where you're able to go and connect with yourself. Cause I don't know if you would come to those realizations if you were still in your grind and still in your routine and still in your, right, all these, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and you were explaining too, you were kind of doing low vibe active or low vibrational activities. Like you were getting into mindless habits or
Hmm.
whatever,
Hmm.
drinking, or I don't know what your low vibrational activities are. Mine are drinking wine. That's, I sit and I'll
Oh,
pour a glass of wine
yeah.
every night. And it's like, well, sometimes you don't need wine. So those types of things become habits. And then it's harder for you to check in with yourself. So in some ways, I
Yeah.
think what you did is a really cool way of checking in with yourself, which is what I was sort of saying, is important to do.
I think, yes, absolutely. And in anything that we do in our life, I think we can have a beginning idea of what it's for and what it's meant to be. But while we're in the process or when we get out of it, it is something completely different. And I think this is becoming that for me. It
Mm-hmm.
was a time to kind of get away, escape, explore, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing, and I get to see the world, which I'm so grateful for. I feel like I am a child of the world. I thrive kind of seeing things for the first time and in being in situations where I don't know what's happening. But the outcome of this is now going to be not me wanting to, have a job that I am going to different parts of the world every month. I think the outcome is going to be that I am really lucky for the life that I have and that I have a home that's like full of love and that I have opportunity and that I live where I live and that I am able to do things to chase what I want my perfect life to look like,
Yes. I
right?
love this. I love this. I mean, and listen, gratitude comes in really weird ways. Like I think
Oh,
you can kind of expect to be like, you knew all this before going on your trip,
we
but
know
you're
everything
feeling it.
almost.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
We
you're now
always
feeling it.
know.
Right. Right. And I think that's the difference. And that's same with me with the different activities. I was going through the motions of life. And even though I had the routines, the structures, I was following the procedures that I saw on social media, which you laid out, like waking up early, journaling, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't feeling the things. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that must mean that I need to reconnect and actually assess what are the things that serve me, what are the things that deplete me, and do more of the things that serve me. And it's as simple as that. I just don't think people maybe take the time to do that. And I'm so happy we're able to
I'm
during this time.
absolutely. And I think we're very fortunate that we're able to recognize maybe those times, but also that we are able to give ourselves time to kind of change that because not everybody, let's face it, has the lifestyle where they are able to kind of take a step back for a while or have time to even for themselves. I mean, you could have a couple of kids and working as hard as you can just to get by. And so to find that time to kind of just like take a step back and realize and figure out what you need, that's probably very few and far between of opportunities. And those opportunities are very few and far between. And so I don't take that lightly either. And I think that you and I have always been very quick to emphasize that where we are fortunate.
For sure, for sure. And but I also, I don't know, I maybe would argue that everyone has the capacity to notice when they're feeling happy and good and
Mm-hmm.
try their best to protect that energy. Like I think it's I don't know. It's sometimes it's interesting. I can only speak about myself, my own experiences, but when I'm feeling really sad and down, I don't even realize some of the day-to-day habits that I've just gone through the motions of doing actually bring me down even more, like listening to moody music. I love moody music. There's just a time and place to do it. And sometimes that just brings me further down my rabbit hole or
Yes.
watching crime documentaries. Honestly, sometimes that makes me feel really dark. And instead, I'll turn on The Office and need
Yes.
to laugh. So it's like little shifts like that that I think everyone has the capacity to do. You're right. We have more time, more space, more kind of accessible things to go and try, but truly like simple things like that can actually help you remain protect your energy, right? Protect your
Yes.
happiness.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, today is a perfect example. I was feeling really homesick. I just got in last night again from it's like kind of my third section of whatever, the whole thing. And so I was feeling homesick and I slept in and I was in bed for a while and I was just, oh, I don't even want to do anything today. Just like kind of want to sulk and sit here and
Yeah.
like be a little sad. But I after a while of doing that, I was like, no, come on, you gotta get yourself fucking up. Like you're and I said this to you in a text, nobody's crying for the girl gallivanting around London, right? Like,
I died at that. That's so
I know,
funny.
because it's so true. And so I said
Yeah.
that to my dad too, and he goes, yeah, I mean, come on, let's go. And it's so true. Like I'm in this opportunity. So I got myself up. And I literally just showered, found a Starbucks, got a coffee, and I walked. And I just walked through the park for like 3 hours and it changed everything. It changed everything, you know? And then I ended up going to the gym and I ate a healthy dinner and we're doing our podcast. And it was the last thing that I wanted to do was just get out of bed. But it was
Hmm.
the first thing I knew that would help me. And sometimes I remember saying this with my therapist many years ago. It's like the last thing that you want to do will be the first thing that will help you. And it's so true because those are the things that you know will it's almost like you self-manipulate. Like you're like, I know what I need, but I'm not going to do that.
Right. And sometimes you have to lean into that. Sometimes your mental health requires you
Absolutely.
to, right, give yourself a little TLC. And we always say stuff like that. But I think you're right. And that's an important note is just whether it's a mental note, you're journaling, you say it out loud to a friend, just taking note of the things that really make you feel good. Like you just listed a whole bunch of things that you know make you feel good. Getting a coffee, going to Starbucks, walking around, being in nature, those
Yeah,
types of things. It's know yourself enough to know what's going to bring you back to like a healthy mindset. So I think that's more what we're kind of that's more what I think is an important part of um seeing the perfect life and like
yeah.
gathering your insights. Like I think it's cool to almost use it as a mood board. Like if you
Oh,
see
I
these
love
social
that.
right? All these social medias and movies and TV shows and other people's lives as a mood board, and you pull from it what you want when you need it versus trying to replicate one thing or be one thing because you're going to ebb and flow throughout your life. So use it as your
Yeah,
mood board, take note of what's cool, what's not cool, and incorporate them, right? Bits and pieces of it.
absolutely. Absolutely. You have to. And you know, I think another key thing that has always worked for me is trying to find the humor in almost anything that's happening. Like I mean, if I can laugh at something, that is pretty much the best that it can get. You know what I mean? Like my husband and I, that's my favorite thing. We're idiots, and so like it could be like nothing going on or just a very normal day. But if you can laugh and just like make your day how like make your life your own romantic comedy. Like you're in charge of that. Like you're in charge of how you feel and how maybe you want to see
Yes.
something. So if you
Yes.
want to approach something in a different way that somebody might say is silly, but it brings you joy and like this euphoric feel, by all means do that. By all means, because I do feel like that's kind of been always like my secret little weapon.
Totally. No, I completely agree. I think I said the same thing when my little sister and I went on the Super Bowl Sunday. We went out and got drinks and did wine tasting, and we came
Yeah.
back and we were jumping on my bed and listening to music and I truly felt like I was in a rom-com. I'm like,
Yes, I saw you post that.
it's just like, wow, this is the feeling of a rom-com without being in a rom-com. And I don't have all the things of the rom-com, but it's like you feel that still. And to
Yes.
replicate more moments where you feel those things I think will help you carve out, your quote unquote perfect life. And so it's just really taking stock, right, of what
Yes.
interests you,
Yes.
excites you, like your what I like what you said, like your secret weapon. Is that what you said? Like this is my
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
right,
Like
like your
because
little sorry.
how you feel like no, please. How you feel like you have approached life thus far and it's gotten you through like
Yes.
I've had and it's actually come as criticism from many people saying that I think like everything is a fairy tale and I live in this like
Mm,
this, floaty world and I do, but I'm aware of that and I choose that. It doesn't mean that I'm unaware of of reality. Like I know reality. It's right there. It's right there. And I'm living in reality, but I'm living in my own form of reality because it makes me happy and it makes me feel good. And I'm good with that. And I think it's okay to like form your own kind of reality. That
oh,
doesn't
for
mean like,
sure.
right? That doesn't mean like that you're I don't even know like what to say to that, but it doesn't mean that you're totally out of touch with like the world. Obviously, you're not, but that doesn't mean that but it also means that you can you can choose to see joy in this flower, and it is magic,
Ugh,
right?
you know what? I mean, yes. And this is sort of a tangent, but I love that point. I wrote this short story. The short story like came to me when I was walking yesterday, and it was
Fuck
funny because
yeah.
it was about that sentiment. I just started it. It was just like a couple pages, but it's called The Luckiest Penny, and it's about this woman named Penny, and she sees the world in that same way you were explaining that you feel, where it's like everything sort of she collects weird things off the ground. She has like a whole weird board of all these things that she's collected, like odd pennies and whatnot. And then she has the most eclectic friends. Her best friend is named like Ben, and he runs the old diner. And she has a best friend that's like a little grandma next door named something, Maeve, maybe. And anyway, she has this eclectic life. She wears really funky clothes that's always mismatched. And she falls in love with this very traditional man who whatever has a very simple life and anyways, like I can
This
share
is
it with you at some
amazing.
point. But it's that same sentiment, and the whole point of the short story I think was to remind me like why it came to me is because like life can oscillate between the two. You can be
Yeah,
realistic and simple and structured at times, and you can be fluid and free at times, and it can go back and forth, and the two can fall in love, right? You can fall in love with both
absolutely.
pieces. Yeah.
And you can be both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It can be
and we
within
all are.
yourself. Yes.
Absolutely. And we all are. And I would even, beg to say every person is both of those. It just maybe we allow different levels of
Yes.
each to show up or what we're comfortable with, or just who we are as people. Like, I mean, not everybody's going to be like in the clouds every day like I am, and that's
Right.
okay. Like the world wouldn't work if
Right.
that were so. But it's just another way to show that your perfect life can be whatever you want it to be. And that doesn't mean that everything is perfect.
No, it doesn't. It just means keeping a pulse of what's
Yeah.
going on up here, right? And
Yeah.
being like, okay, I'm happy in these moments, I'm sad in these moments. This is what's serving me, this is what's not.
Hmm.
And being disciplined enough to actually stop when you are if and again, this is all we acknowledge sometimes that's not possible, right? Like mental health, obviously there's some people that simply cannot tell their brain to stop, right? Like
Right,
I
right.
obviously, and I can get into those states as well. But overall, if you're able to be disciplined when you are feeling down, to stop doing the activities that are continuing to bring you down and engage
Right.
in activities that bring you up, that is going to help keep you in a positive mindset, right? And keep you
Hmm.
moving forward in whatever version of your life you're trying to live. So
I think that
it's
was,
all very like, sorry, go ahead.
no, I don't even know what I was going to say.
I just feel like it's a little ethereal, and I get that, and I think it's because I'm still and I don't know how you feel. I think I'm still coming to trying to get my thoughts gathered around this concept because it is tough, and it
Yeah.
isn't. I haven't mastered it yet. Obviously, I don't think anyone ever will. So I'm still. It feels very. Do you know what I mean? Like out here, like
Yes.
very theoretical.
Well, and I think that's so hard for us because
Yeah.
we live in that space. We live in the this
Yes.
space, and those are the spaces that you can't grab. And
Yeah.
you can't grab it and put it down. And
Yes.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that I'm always going to be the person that struggles with that because as much as I like to say that I don't, like I constantly compare myself to others and like what I
Hmm.
see, and I'm trying to be better about that. And at least I'm aware, but it's still really hard and I take it really hard and it affects me.
Well, okay,
But
can I pause and ask you about this? Because maybe this is a good tangible example. So you find you compare a lot.
yeah,
When do you find, are there times when you don't? Are there times when you feel like you can see another person and not compare yourself to them?
I don't know. I don't know. I think I do it subconsciously and consciously. And it's funny though, because it's always very surface level. I'm
Mm,
always comparing looks or the way that somebody holds themselves or the way that they're able to speak eloquently because I
mm,
stumble over my words. I think when I see something in somebody that is how I want to be, I over overly compare.
Okay. So let's say you're wearing your best outfit ever. You're at your favorite local bar. You look great. You ran, you felt like good. You have your little exercise moment. Everything's just flowing naturally out of your mouth. Do you think then you would compare, or is that too hypothetical? Like that never
No, I
happens?
think I would feel good. I would feel good. And I
Yeah,
think in those moments, I aspire to be more in those moments. And I
totally.
think keyword being in those moments. Because when I'm in a moment, I'm not comparing.
Hmm.
But I think
Yeah,
when I'm too aware of surroundings, maybe, or what's going on, that's when I start
for
noticing
sure.
every little thing and blah, 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 blah.
For sure. And I can resonate with that so hard. I remember at like parties in college being like, if I saw one person in the corner not vibing and having a great time, I would immediately go over to them and be like, what can I get you? What da, 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 da,
Hmm.
da, da. And it's like, maybe they just need to be alone and you don't need to be concerned about their energy and take it in and have a shit time yourself. And I felt that way at my wedding. I was like so concerned with
Oh
everyone
yeah.
else's emotions. It's like,
Oh
well,
yeah.
they're their emotions, Peyton, not you. So,
Well,
but that sentiment is like that's I have felt that before. And so what I have focused on in the past couple months is healing, like calming myself down. Because I think when I'm in go, go, go mode and doing 30 things at once, I do feel like I'm more susceptible to feeling people's
yeah.
emotions. That's my negative thing. Like I can get too spirally and chaotic, and then I show up in situations and I'm like, what can I do? What can I do? Like I need to have eight things on my mind. It's like, no, 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 no. You show up in a space and you're worried about you and yourself, and that's all you can do. That's all you can control. And so
It,
that's what I've been trying to work on, right? So it's interesting. We have different,
well,
I
no,
don't
but
know.
that's a really hard one too, because I think all you can control is what you're able to do and put out. And so many times in those situations, especially in a work situation, I'm worried about, oh, am I doing enough? What are they thinking about how I'm working? Like, are they happy with what I'm producing? And those are things that I can't control. All I can do is control like what I am actually
Right.
doing and being comfortable with my efforts.
Right. So, anyways, I think the more we practice that and I'm reminding ourselves of that when we do feel like, what are they thinking about me? Am I cute enough? Am I doing this enough? Am I smart enough? It's like, well, all you can do is do what you know and
Yeah.
do and be yourself, right?
And if somebody were thinking something negatively, well, fuck them, right?
Yeah,
Like,
what
and
an
that's like
asshole. Yeah,
exactly. And I always have that in my brain. I'm like, so why can't I act in that way, like in my mind? But I think it's just like an ever evolving thing that we're gonna have to keep working on. Like it's never
yeah,
gonna be, we're never gonna be there. It's never gonna be the perfect life. And if it is, I think that's kind of like the end of living then, right? Because isn't the art of
agreed.
living, it changes always forever, and you always need to be on a
Agreed.
quest.
Agreed. And then the last thing that I'll kind of say around this is I feel like I get frustrated with people when they hate on someone portraying a certain life online or even in person. It's like if they want to show up as whatever they want to show up as, you don't have to do that. Like, don't feel the need to judge because you don't need to do that. Like if someone wants to
Yeah.
post their daily routine on Instagram and share their favorite green juice, let them live their life. Cool. Good for you. Why are you offended by that? Like versus or if someone wants to show up, I'm often all dolled up and people at work will be like, "Why are you wearing that? Why are you so overdressed?" It's like this is what I wanted to dress as. So it's
Yes.
like
How is
this
this
speaks
affecting you?
yeah, right. It's like, I'm sorry. Do you feel a lack of your outfit? Like you probably are, right? Feeling shitty about yourself that you feel the need to judge. So, anyways, I think that's the other piece of this perfect life that pisses me off is people hate on others instead of taking
Hmm.
stock of their own life and being like, okay, what do I need? What am I
Hmm.
lacking? What do I need to gain? It's like, stop putting it on others.
I
They're
think
just living.
99, yes, 99 out of 100 times that's what it is. They're
Yeah.
either they're not willing to put themselves out there the same way. And so it's easier to shit on
Yeah.
somebody or to
Yeah.
judge or to be that critic in the corner. And it's like, I mean, fuck you.
Agreed. So that's the
I
other
couldn't
piece
agree
of
with
it
you
too.
more. That's
Yeah.
very good. Very, very good.
And just take it, like we said, I think the biggest takeaway from us talking through this for me is the mood board thing. Like take it as a
I
mood
love
board.
that.
It should just be inspo. It should not be a perfect plan for you to follow. It shouldn't be the exact
No,
recipe that you need to do. It should just be inspo, right?
I
Mood board.
love it. Yes. And sometimes you take things out and you put some things in and you thought you want to take this out. No, I'll put it
Yeah.
back in. Like it can change.
Yeah.
It's supposed to. It is supposed to.
Yes. And like you and I do with our office, since I thought of our office Pinterest board, there are
Oh,
aspects of pictures we love, right? We're like, oh,
yes.
we love the green door or we love the checkered floor. We don't love everything in the picture. We love bits and pieces of it. And it should be the same with
With your
people's
life.
social media, right? Or your friends,
Yes.
or even in
Or
person
just
when you
who
see
you
things.
are, like as a person in your
Yeah.
life. Like you should be able to take little pieces of whatever experience you have
Yes.
lived or seen or whatever and be who you want to be.
Love. I love it. Well,
This
this was a
was a
useful
good one.
episode. Yeah.
I love this.
We worked through a lot today.
We, we
I
really
hope
did.
some of it made sense. That's my only fear. So we just spoke a lot of words. I think it did. I think it
It
made
was a
sense.
lot of, I feel like we were very rapid fire back and forth today. Like we were feeling it. We were really feeling it. Our feelings were coming out. And I don't know if it's because we both had a lot of coffee or I like
I think
lifted
it's that.
weights for the first time in a long time.
Okay. Come through, weightlifter.
I
Love
mean,
that.
like, but this was perfect. And I think it's like everybody can resonate at no matter where they're at in their life.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. You
I
guys let us
hope
know.
so. Yeah, let us know, okay? We're just here for you. We're here for us. We're
Oh
here for
my
you. We're
gosh.
here.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
as always, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. We have fun doing this, and it's just as much good for us as we hope it is for you guys. So if you ever have any questions or ideas for us to talk about on our episodes, let us know. You can follow us on all social platforms. P.S. We have no plan, and we will see you next week, right?
See you next week on Thursday, peeps. Bye.
Bye.
All right.